The music was too loud, strings clashing with laughter, and champagne bubbles rising in glasses I had no desire to hold. I stood in the corner, a mere ornament in a suit that felt borrowed despite being my own. My wife's hand brushed past me, but not for me. It was for attention, for presence. She moved toward her sister the bride, who was radiant in the artificial glow of chandelier. And then it happened. The bride's voice, sweet but laced with venom, pulled me into the center of their circle. "This is my sister's husband," she said to an older man in a tailored suit. "He's well unemployed, a bit of a loser really." The room seemed to fall silent around me. The man's smile didn't falter. He glanced at me, registering my silence, then turned back to the bride. "You're fired," he said. A laugh rippled from somewhere behind me, but it wasn't mine. I didn't move or even blink. I simply committed the moment to memory, the cruelty on her lips, the pity in my wife's eyes, and the sudden collapse of a sister's arrogance. The night had shifted, and I was not the one who had lost. I should have felt vindicated, but instead, I felt the sharp sting of betrayal, not from the boss's words or the bride's fall, but from my wife. She didn't defend me. She didn't flinch when her sister humiliated me. She simply allowed it to happen. Her eyes darted away, as if to confirm her agreement. "Unemployed loser." The words cut deeper than the dismissal. I had been working quietly in ways she never saw, but she never asked, never cared. That was the real betrayal, not infidelity, but a profound redefinition of me in her own mind. And if she could let me be mocked like that in public, what did she say about me in private to her family, her friends, or even to herself? The thought festered. My silence was not a sign of weakness. It was a calculated strategy. But a deeper suspicion had already taken root. Betrayal is never an isolated act. It spreads. In the days that followed, I moved discreetly. I listened, not with questions, but through my own absence. Absence makes people careless. My wife's phone, left unlocked and glowing on the kitchen counter, revealed more than her lips ever could. Half-erased messages and fragmented conversations spoke of disappointment. "She deserves more. He's too quiet. He'll never be enough." These were not her words, but her sister's still. Silence is complicity. My wife never pushed back. She let the narrative take hold. I began to trace the pattern. Small exclusions, dinners to which I was not invited, family events where I was a mere footnote, and stories told at my expense. It wasn't about work. It was about worth. They had measured me, weighed me, and found me wanting. I let them believe so. Meanwhile, I waited. I compiled records, financials, contracts, and deals that existed under my name but were never spoken of. No one ever asked what I did when I left in the morning. No one cared. That was their grave mistake. The truth is not always hidden. Sometimes it is standing in plain sight, dismissed by those too arrogant to look closer. The truth emerged at a dinner a week later. Another gathering, another room where laughter was currency, and I was expected to be the poorest man present. The bride was there, too, jobless now, though her smile feigned otherwise. My wife sat beside her, leaning in and whispering. I waited for a moment of natural quiet as glasses were refilled. Then, I placed a folder on the table. No words, just paper. The bride frowned and flipped it open. The color drained from her face. My wife leaned in, confusion twisting her features. Inside were company seals, contracts, signatures, and numbers that spoke louder than any insult. The unemployed loser they mocked, quietly owned, controlling, shares of the very company that had just fired her. The boss hadn't acted out of cruelty. He had known who I was and that I was watching. My wife's lips parted, searching for words that never came. The bride looked broken. My wife looked betrayed, but not by me, by herself. I sat back, calm and detached. I didn't need to say it. The evidence had already spoken. She whispered, "You never told me." "No," I said, my voice steady and almost kind. "I didn't." Her eyes widened as though she had just realized she had married a stranger, not because I had lied, but because she had never cared to know the truth. Silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. The bride's hands trembled as she closed the folder, unable to meet my eyes. Neither could my wife. I let the weight of it linger. The shame, the collapse, the realization that the man they had so readily dismissed was the one holding the strings all along. Then I stood. "Enjoy your dinner," I said softly. I left them there in a silence they could not escape, trapped by a truth they could not twist. As I walked away, I felt nothing. No triumph, no rage, just clarity. They had written me out of their story a loser, an absence, a shadow. But shadows have weight when they step into the light. I didn't need to defend myself. I didn't need to stay. Their humiliation was their own. I had only handed them a mirror. The music from the hall faded as I stepped into the night. Cool air filled my lungs, sharper and more refreshing than any victory could be. In that quiet, I realized the truth. They hadn't betrayed me. They had betrayed themselves. I had simply allowed them to see it.